Hey everyone, this is Walter, and we're back here with another video about nice guys. Nice guys are men who think they're really nice and consequently won't shut up about it. This is part 7 of a story I found on Reddit Nice Guy Stories, so I'll link to the series if you haven't seen it. But let's just start reading once again with Nice Guy Stories from Reddit, 4 years in uni with Nice Guy, part 7. So yeah, we've got a guy here who's been creeping on the OP, and after she filed harassment against him, he decided to not only threaten the teacher over it, but then he sent this ridiculous email to his class, mostly full of people who didn't care. Let's keep reading it. The parts in red are the author responding. Hopefully it doesn't get too confusing. One day we were both invited to the birthday of Rami at the end of year 2021, and we were the only ones that showed up. There was kind of a weird vibe coming from Blank, like some sort of tension, but I didn't understand it. I tried talking to Blank at the party and asked her when we were going to meet up again. It was already more like half a year by then, since we last saw each other in person, plus internship and the corona quarantine that happened. And I did ask it before in the WhatsApp conversations I had with her, but on the party she said it was creepy and I should stop asking her that. No, you said, and I quote, "I waited the whole year to see you again." That came out of nowhere for me and I didn't understand it either. The reason I wanted to meet up was to cheer her up and give her a birthday cupcake that I promised her. These days I would not eat or drink anything that you have touched for my own safety, thank you. Yeah, he was actually coming out here to pick up a cupcake and go back home. I was just really worried about her since she lost her best friend and we haven't seen each other for an incredibly long time. As a friend to her, I wanted to be there for her. I did try to act normally and act happily on Rami's birthday again after what she said. But after the party was over, me and Blank were walking towards the train. I asked Blank if we were still friends. Blank says, "No, we are not." No, I asked, "Were we ever?" And I stood still and Blank went on the train. That was the last conversation I had with Blank in person. We never talked again in person. If I remember correctly, he threw a fit and was kind of ruining the party out of jealousy, but I guess he's not going to mention that part. Perhaps he's not the most reliable narrator. I asked Blank why she unfriended me the next day on WhatsApp. She said she didn't know, something about how she did not understand why I wanted to be her friend and it made her uncomfortable, and that she felt we had no vibe and that friendships sometimes just ended like that and she was sorry for hurting me like that. The answer was just weird and didn't correspond with our 3-year friendship. Our friendship just happened, there was no deeper reason behind it. He's just like, hey, she didn't give me what I find to be a valid reason. Everyone else just thinks he looks nuts. If someone doesn't want to be your friend, you can't logic them into being forced to like this. And good luck after they file harassment on you. We used to hang out daily. Because I had errands to run near school that you invited yourself to. To the point that Blank was even copying my phrases in her talks. I did not. Honestly, I don't even know where he gets this one. I didn't understand why she had to end it so suddenly without ever talking things out with me, but I had too much going on in my personal life. My grandpa was sick and died on January 1st, 2022. Family quarrels. I was still progressing the loss of my cat, whom I had for 18 years. As harsh as that may sound, I truly believe that cat was his only real friend, which does make it extremely sad, but there is only so much sympathy I can bring up for this guy, who died of cancer, and man, I tried to save him, but it was too late and the cancer progressed too much. The minor I did, I was overworking myself, and not only doing art, but making charts and game design as well, and so much more things that were going on. I figured that maybe it was better for Blank and me to not be friends anymore. Maybe we did hang out too much together, and it made things weird for her. I followed the minor game design. Yeah, it was weird, because I didn't want to, but you kept asking, and because I lived so close to school, it was hard to say no. I didn't have the excuse of a 1-hour train ride home. Funny enough, he had a 2-hour train ride home, yet insisted on hanging out with me. He would have arrived home at like 5 p.m. on some days, maybe even later if there was train delays, which in the Netherlands is a very frequent occurrence. Guess who followed me there? Yes, Cleo, the one who constantly was screaming in class about how she hates everything 3D. Why did she constantly pick 3D assignments at school? She was following me. Yes, even in year 4 it never stopped apparently. I hoped she would get something with William, but that never happened. I will talk about this minor later again, since it will play a role later on. When we would all go to school again as our class, for me it was March 21st, 2022, since I missed the first day on March 14th. I initially ignored Blank, since I felt insulted that she unfriended me so suddenly, and her weird reasoning that didn't make any sense. I had enough on my mind already. I only went to school for lessons/feedback from the teachers on Monday and then left again. I never talked to blank in person after the day she unfriended me. That is still true to this day. After a month or two, I thought maybe I should try a nice gesture, so I responded on her Instagram and complimented one of her drawings, showing a sign that I was ready to talk again. Some friend of blank responded to my comment to it quite weirdly, so I figured that blank asked that friend to do that knowing her, so I took it as a hint. I unfollowed blank on her Instagram that day. That friend was my girlfriend at the time. I didn't ask her to. She asked me if she could respond to you. I said I wouldn't stop her. Yeah, I know it seemed like I was stalking them, but actually if you see it my way, they were stalking me. It is utterly unrealistic for anyone to be trying to spend time with this guy. I mean, do you want to be friends with someone who sends this to his entire class? He's pretty much a lolcow already. Honestly, I did not know what blank thought of me at this point. Apparently that part of calling me a creep out of nowhere at the party played a bigger part than I realized back then. She never mentioned it as one of her reasons for why she unfriended me. Because I was afraid you would freak out and push me onto the train tracks. And I just brushed it off in mind back then and never gave it a single thought anymore. You should have thought about it more. I thought she needed some of her own time, and that after some time, things would be alright between us. Like a cat who you try to pet and it bites you, so you leave it alone, and the next time you try it tolerates you. Humans are not cats, Kevin. But that wasn't the case, and I noticed at some point that blank was avoiding me as well. Yeah, we happen to know that she 100% did unfriend him because he was a creep. Honestly, he should be able to figure that out too. I'm sure his class has. I did not understand why, and it made me sad, but it wasn't something I could do anything about, so I accepted it. One day, blank made a complaint to the school manager in the school. This complaint existed out of, 1, I supposedly made an image of blank. You did. I still have them. 2, I was present in the same room as her during Victor's second model drawing lesson. We never even talked. Lie. You were there the first and second lesson, and you definitely tried to stand as close to me as possible. I asked the manager to have a talk with blank and if she would like to have a conversation with me, since I hadn't had any contact with blank for 4 months already, so all this came as a surprise to me. Blank declined that invitation, and the school manager enforced a warning with measures on me, where if I contacted her, I could even get suspended. Even though I did nothing wrong and this manager only talked with me for less than 10 minutes. I wrote a letter to this manager teacher in blank, and I tried to explain that it wasn't the case and that I was dealing with my stuff. I didn't know what blank her problem was. I explained pretty well what my problem was with you. I sent them the pictures. I hope they showed them to you. I'm skipping ahead a bit here to when he brings in his mom to complain to the principal. I filed a complaint against this school manager teacher. On June 22nd, 2022, I had a meeting with Principal Bob about my complaint. Yes, it took 2 full months for my complaint to be processed. They deliberately did that so that school time would be over. Later, the fact that it was deliberate was proven at the commission meeting. This school manager was not authorized to give a warning or anything like it, so it was revoked. I asked Principal Bob to research what happened between me and blank, since at that moment I didn't understand any of it. I was just really confused and thought blank was going nuts. In the final letter to me, he tells this story differently, and I to this day do not know which version is true because he is an extremely unreliable narrator. They did not notify me of any proceedings, and they are not obligated to do so either. Although I feel like they should have, because what if he gets mad about a decision they make and takes it out on me? I would like to be warned about that, thank you. You know, it doesn't sound like they had any intention of actually doing anything serious to me. They're like, he's graduating soon, he could be some employer's problem. It made me even more worried about her. Me and my mother went to the cafeteria in the school after the meeting to talk things over. We saw the principal talking with the manager for a bit in the cafeteria. Afterward, I and my mother wanted to ask some things at the student reception on the first floor at Building 2, and later also speak with class teacher. We would walk by up the metal stairs, and blank, Cleo, and some others walked past us. I was talking with my mom on the first floor. Then suddenly Cleo was pointing at me and making blank aware of me and my mother that we were talking up there. Yes, Cleo made me aware of your presence so that I knew where you were, so I could avoid you in case you would come downstairs. How blank looked at me that day, all shocked. It was not a look I ever expected from her, whom I had been friends for 3 years, and I will remember that look forever. But I also saw how Cleo was looking at blank, all smiles at blank like she was trying to absorb her reaction into her being, just enjoying the show, all while blank looked in shock at me. I wasn't shocked, I was As ashamed as I am to admit it, afraid. Afraid you would come downstairs. Afraid you would force me to interact with you. Afraid you would want to confront me about the complaint and do something. I never knew what Blank was thinking, but then I knew what she thought was real in her mind. With my history with Cleo, I knew immediately Cleo was behind all this that was happening. What history? The history that she kept reinforcing boundaries? And telling you off because she doesn't tolerate bullshit the way I did for years? Yeah, I guess this evil Cleo has turned his good friend of 3 years against him, because she's jealous and wants him. Not sure which bizarro world this idiot lives in. I figured I wanted to find out more about this, and I did want to talk things out with some other people, whom I always did consider friends too, and didn't want to end everything on bad terms. I talked to Julia, and also tried to talk to some other people I used to be friends with. I asked Julia to send my message to that group if people would want to have a talk with me, whom I had a discussion with. I wanted to know what made them change their behavior towards me so suddenly, who was behind it. I mean, I knew who was behind it, but I wanted to find evidence of it. Since when did you consider Julia your friend? After the project you were teamed up for, you never spoke again until you needed them to contact us so we would speak to you one last time so you could lie to us about Cleo. But apparently only Blank responded to that message, saying apparently some horrible stuff about me, thinking I wanted to contact her, even though I only wanted to talk things out with the people I had a discussion within the group. About that whole Phillips Corporation stuff, and not with Blank, since that would just be pointless with the knowledge I now possessed about the situation. And besides, with the warning just revoked, I didn't want to talk with her out of risk. Julia would not have messaged me if you had not included me in your little list of people you wanted to talk things out with. Don't lie. I like how this joker expects the principal to do research into why this girl doesn't want to be around him. Not like he has a job to do or something. No, let me look into why women find you creepy. Asking Julia to contact the OP would, of course, get him another complaint. To make things worse, Blank filed a second complaint against me, saying I was seeking contact with her through a friend. Because you were, and it wasn't a second complaint, it was a follow-up update on the first one. And that I was following her around school. This entire part goes about how I was on the 27th at school with my mom, talking with the principal, and we walked past each other on school. I have not been on location after that day anymore, except grad show, but that didn't happen yet. And that other part was about me trying to talk with some other people, who I were friends with before. This second complaint made things roll again, and Principal Bob simply enforced the same warning and measure as the school manager-teacher made, without ever talking to me about it. He didn't even do any research or had any insight into the documents as they were all stored on that manager-teacher, his computer, who was on holidays at the time. You're lucky for that, Kevin, because if they had access to them, I'm pretty sure you would have gotten worse. So the principal just responded that he didn't want to bother going in depth since he had a lot of work to do, as the principal explained himself at the hearing later at the commission about his actions. More struggling for me, so I took a jurist in service and filed a complaint at HR. By now, I have proven my innocence to the commission, and the warning with measure has been taken away by the HR. I've been going against the principal and won, but it wasn't easy. It took time since the principal was extending things forever on purpose. It is absolutely wild that this guy is supposed to be an adult. He's not even mature enough to handle going to school. It was illegal to give a warning with a measure in the first place. This manager and principal did things that were not all right during the whole process. To make things worse, their behavior made it only look like I was the one guilty. I never treated Blank wrong. I never made a move on her. I tried my best to be a good friend and never step out of bounds. When I touched her once on her shoulder to get your attention in the shopping district, you behaved weirdly and explained to me you had trouble trusting men after what your mom told you, and didn't like it if someone touched you from an angle you couldn't see. After that, I never touched you again on your shoulder. No, I just told you to not do that and took a few steps back. The conversation about my mother was at a completely different point in time, and again, me oversharing because that's my defense mechanism. But remember, to him, me oversharing and trauma dumping because I am mentally ill, to him, means I am trusting him. So from his perspective, this means he is taking sensitive information I trusted him with so much because we are good friends, and just airs it out to the whole class. Yeah, what a fuckhead. Glad he's so comfortable sharing other people's trauma with anyone willing to listen. Even when I visited her place and Blank tried to support me when I lost my cat and she hugged me, I felt that she wasn't comfortable. I knew she didn't like hugs. She said it to me every time after she hugged someone. All of a sudden you can read that I don't want to, so all the countless times before that you just didn't give a shit. Thanks for the official confirmation, Kevin. But I appreciated the gesture, and when I left, Blank asked me if I need another hug. I declined it, not because I didn't need one, because I could have used another one, but I did not want to make Blank uncomfortable. This is such a nice guy thing to brag about. I said no to a hug because I'm a gentleman. He's obviously one of those where's my hug guys too. I think the author mentioned in the original story that he goes on about a relationship for no reason. Well, here we are. I tried to understand Blank's relationship and tried to be supportive. I know Blank wasn't really happy with her relationship. Blank told me she was only content with it and she felt pushed into it and that taking care of someone was what she wanted. But I did see Blank try her best and that it was difficult for Blank since Elliot changed non-stop what they liked and even who they are, and I saw that Blank had difficulty keeping up, but she was trying and that was all that mattered. A friend needs to be supportive, so I tried to support Blank and help Blank with the things she missed from school and show support for her relationship. I would never break someone's relationship, especially not someone I call a friend. I can admit that I did think of it at some point about me and Blank in the early part of the second year when we were hanging out daily. How could I not? Good God, once again he is sending this to his classmates. Okay, we're on page 7 of 9 on document 1 of 2. Let me know if you want me to keep reading this. It's actually getting pretty crazy at this point. But that is about all the time I have for you today. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you liked the video, please give it a like. If you have something to say, make sure you let me hear it in the comments, because this guy definitely has problems. I still am incredulous that someone would send this to their class. If you're new here, consider subscribing for more Reddit stories and whatever else I feel like talking about. And finally, big thanks to my amazing patrons who help by supporting me more directly over on Patreon. I really appreciate it. I'll be back with more content soon, and hopefully I'll cover this again, sooner than a month from now this time. Have a great day, everyone, and where's Kevin's hug?